So yeah, I'm going to read a little bit from Tigre. I decided to read one of the scenes that involves my father, and he's kind of this infamous sort of character in here. You'll see why. So he doesn't really need an introduction. And this is chapter 4 of Tigre, and it's called Savages, which is one of my father's key words that he likes to use. Savages, all savages. So, apparently Papa had put a down payment on a house, yet there was no anticipation of the move. Just a September day, replete with sealed UPS boxes and a big white truck. We donated my old toys to the Emmanuel Methodist Church across from the 32nd Street playground. The previous day, Papa and I had taken a short drive through our end of town so we could point out all the ugly things we were escaping by moving 9 blocks. Papa had offered to take Mommy on the drive with us, but she said she'd rather stay home and listen to the radio. The bedroom was depressing now, with all of our stuff packed and just my mother, and the radio flat on the white sheet. Mommy hadn't gotten dressed and wore a long checkered garment with snaps down the front that she had gotten from one of her hospital stays. The bare living room was a worse sight now that all of my toys were packed up. The only whisper of my presence left was the marker scribbles on the wall from the many times Papa had gotten angry at the landlord and granted me artistic liberty. Those were the days of my markers and my crayons. I'm still doing it. I'm still coloring on the walls. My daughter has those water crayons, so she gets the color all over the shower and we can just erase it. So, no angry landlords. So, always dragging your feet, Papa said, and briskly pulled me along. On our way down the hallway stairs, which smelled like urine and beer, he said, "Casey, when I take you driving today, take a good look around at all the things and places you have enjoyed. That woman is lazy, and I'm sure she will not take the trouble to walk to this end of town once we have moved, and to be honest, I am not sure I want you in this area anymore." When we got to 30th Street, Papa parked the car to buy cigars from Havana Cigars one last time. In the Chevy, I had nothing to do but stare forlornly at Beeline Arcade, where I would always go to play Galaga and Mrs. Pac-Man. I thought of the roller rink a block away from our apartment with a giant red-wheeled skate painted upon its white brick wall. My mother had never allowed me to skate there, for fear I'd fall and break my neck. Just when I thought I'd start crying, Papa came back with 2 kinds of cigars, Ninfas and Senadores. "You know something?" Papa said, gripping the wheel even though he hadn't started driving yet. "I was talking to the man in there, and he said we got out of here just in time. There are more drug addicts than ever, and gangs and lowlifes creeping up from the 20s and teens. They creep in like the roaches, and they cannot be stopped. I heard there are even prostitutes sleeping in the Toys R Us parking lot now. Can you believe this?" As he pulled into traffic, Papa looked around. "This is a bad section of town, Kesey. Look at that man spitting in the street. I would not spit in the street even if I were choking to death. This is why I carry a handkerchief at all times. I never spit, and I never curse on the street like a low-life savage, and I do not throw trash on the ground. Look over there, Kesey, at those 2 pigeons picking at cigarette butts. They think it is food." Oh, it is a depressing sight. This whole place is so depressing to me. I thought one day I would simply get in my car and drive away from here and live anywhere but this place. But I am a responsible man. I am not a deserter. Who else would put up with a woman like your mother? I am going to tell you something, Kesey. Enjoy being young. because you don't know how your life is going to turn out. He sighed and continued, you cannot have what you want in life, but you can be yourself, the kind of person who has done brave things, that has overcome fears, and you can look back on your youth with pride. This is why I joined the army when I was 18. My father had been in the army, and my brothers were in the army, and I knew that it was my turn. Do you think I enjoyed sitting in a tank that got up to 130 degrees in Germany? But now, I am glad to have been that young man, almost dead from the heat in that tank, because if that young man had not withstood the test, I would not be the man I am today. The most important thing, Kisi, is self-respect. Other people can hate me. I may be hated by my co-workers, despised by my boss, disliked by these savages on the streets, but I know that I have sat in that tank and that I have made my bed every day to perfection when I was in the army, and that my clothes were always correct. I look at myself and know that I have kept to the contract of life. Life is a contract, Kisi. Papa pulled the car over briefly, reached into the six-pack he kept on the car, and rolled in the back, stuck the empty bottle into a net shopping bag, and put a fresh beer inside the crumpled paper bag. He offered me a sip, and I refused, saying I like my beer cold. He laughed and patted me on the leg. When I married your mother, I didn't know I was getting stuck with a sick, helpless woman. Her sister is a bitch. I still should have listened to her. That bitch in Connecticut gave me a warning, but I did not pay attention. Do you know what she told me, Kissy? She said she noticed that when she and your mother would go to the beach, your mother would always wear headphones. Most people would want to listen to the sounds of the surf, the breeze blowing through the sand, the cries of the gulls. But your mother always needed music playing. I should have known something was wrong then, but the young are foolish. I don't know why I wanted a wife. I would have been happier living alone, a hermit. But I wanted to have children. I wanted to pass my genes down to another generation. I had the basic drive of life, which is to reproduce. Your instincts, remember that they are almost always wrong. What's right is what you and your family tell you to do. They always know better. Even a stranger on the street who doesn't know the first thing about you, tell that person your situation, and you'll get better advice than if you sat down and thought about it yourself. Papa had driven dreamily through the usual congestion of Bergen Line Avenue up to where it turns into Kenyon Boulevard. We had passed Pastore Music, the Burger Pit, and the 4-Star Diner. We had gone all the way up to Sears and back again. Papa was right. There was something sad and wasted about these city blocks. 29th Street, and it just kept going downhill from there. Fewer stores, fewer people, more teenagers sitting on the hoods of parked cars, more older men slumped on steps with bottles of hard liquor wrapped in paper bags. I tell you, Casey, I would rather die than be seen like that on the street drinking cheap whiskey, Papa snorted. But at least these bums here in Union City have respect. They do not beg for money. They sit quietly and meditate and look at what's gone wrong in their lives. And you pass by and they do not ask anything of you or make themselves a pity case. He took another sip of beer. Yet I carry a gun, or they might rob me. I have fine jewelry, and people are jealous. I like to look my best, and the underdogs despise me, wishing they too could have fine things. Often, Casey, I think that without beauty to admire, what do we have? Even any of these bums, a good-looking girl turns and smiles at them and they feel their lives restored. A beautiful woman's face and a fine horse, well-groomed and ready to run on the track. These sights do not last. The face of Elizabeth Taylor and Brooke Shields. Some of my friends say you look like her, but I think you are more beautiful. I do not like her eyebrows, Casey. Let's stop you for a moment. We pulled up by Los Freshos supermarket on 29th Street across from the New Jersey Transit bus station. Do you want some chips? Inside the store, Papa bought himself some Donita pork rinds, a bag of La Dominica plantain chips, and some cassava chips. For me, he brought vanilla sugar wafers and a Tampico citrus punch. Before we got back into the Chevy, Papa lifted my chin and said, I feel sad for the day you become a woman. The men around here have no respect. They howl and hoot like a bunch of baboons at anything that passes by. I do not know what kind of families they come from. Even though we are moving, there are still going to be animals around. There are savages all over the city. I wish we could move to the suburbs. The mood had turned dreamy as we listened to the Beatles' Rubber Soul. When the song Run for Your Life came on, Papa sang and drummed his hands against the steering wheel. The song, Papa explained to me when the tape ended, was about a jealous man who suspected his girlfriend was cheating on him. He was warning her that if he ever caught her and her lover together, he would kill her. Why does he have to kill her, Papa? Can't he just get a new girlfriend? It is not that simple, Casey. It is about honor. But I don't think a man should punish his girlfriend for indiscretions. Women are frivolous. They love easily, and they cannot help that they are creatures of passion. They are not rational like men. To be mad at a cheating girlfriend is like yelling at the clouds for raining. I have a girlfriend, Casey, and your mother knows nothing about her. He paused. I felt pleased for a second, understanding that he trusted me not to tell Mommy. A lot of times it was him and me sneaking behind Mommy's back. For instance, when I was with him, he let me sit up front and not wear a seatbelt, but when Mommy was there, I had to be strapped in, sitting in the back. And every time he brought me with him to get the car inspected, he would buy me 4 chocolate frosted donuts for lunch, saying, "Don't tell your mother." But I was sad, too. I knew his having a girlfriend had something to do with him never hugging or kissing Mommy and never saying, "I love you." He continued, "For all I know, my girlfriend is with 10 other men, but what can I do about it? I cannot worry about everything. Daughters, sisters, mothers, they are sacred because they are of your blood, and if a man does something to them, that man is wronging you directly. Through my years of experience and watching the experience of my friends, I have found that men will wrong your sister, your mother, your daughter, and all to get at you, to try to destroy another man's honor, because it makes them feel powerful. I know there are 2 sons in this family. Your mother takes you to see. Beware of the sons. Play with them in front of company, but do not go off alone with them. It is just practical advice from someone who knows." I didn't dare tell Papa I rarely saw either of the boys, that I was with Peter most of the time, both alone and with my mother. As we neared the apartment, Papa pointed to a patch of graffiti on the side of a building and said excitedly, "Look, it is that macho man's bones! That vandal they can never catch, messing up our city. Well, today, Casey, good riddance to our old friend Bones. We never have to look at his name again."